And welcome back to another episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show here on the Kokomo Post, partnered with Walls Furniture and Mattress in Kokomo. My name's Drew Larison. This is MTM. Mr. Mayor, how are you?
I am fair to partly cloudy, but always a chance of sun.
Hey-o, that's one way to start this.
Absolutely.
I like that. And it is sunny.
It is sunny. So
I believe all the wood in the world I will knock on. I think we're through with like 30s and 20s.
Oh,
it's 50s, 60s, 70s from here on out.
Us.
Yeah, Kokomo, blame me if that comes true.
But they're gonna, our Easter eggs will be covered in snow just because of your comment.
When is
curse you?
When is actual spring? Do you know, like, is it in April?
No. The official day is March 21st.
It's in March. Okay, so it's 22nd. Next week then.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Yep.
No, loving the weather. Did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend. I did just about absolutely nothing, and it was
good
wonderful.
On you. I had the opposite of a weekend.
Yep.
So it was.
So got some things done at home. Got a good run in. Had good friend turned 50, so we went and celebrated downtown at Sun King.
Love that.
Ring him into this century. So.
Nice.
Or mid-century.
What's going on at City Hall this week?
Planning. Obviously, those that have ventured out towards Markland Avenue have seen that we've already started to work with E&B Paving there on Markland, keeping half of it done. Going to work on the concrete work as the asphalt plant is still not yet open. That'll be open around April 1st. But despite that, our crews are still out. Taking advantage of the weather, filling potholes that got past them last time. And believe it or not, with the weather being decent and a little bit of wind over the weekend, there's been some limbs and trees down as well. Our crews are out picking up limbs and leaves. So if you did do a little bit of cleanup due to either the wind that wreaked a little bit of havoc, or just because, you know what, I didn't get to it in the fall and I'm finally cleaning it up, get it out to the curb, give our street department a call, and make arrangements for them to come pick them up. Yeah,
because it's been classic, and I feel like I've said a lot of classic Midwestern things lately, but it wouldn't be so bad without the wind.
Without the wind.
You know, yes. Which is something us Midwesterners say. But it's true. I mean, the sun's been out, the temps have been nice, but that wind is making it a little chilly. But yeah, so I mean, big weekend in Kokomo in general.
Big weekend.
Specifically out of Kokomo High School.
Absolutely.
Kokomo High School, for the first time in over a decade, is going to the semi-state for boys basketball.
Which, you know, and you could tell those that the pre-class basketball, when the one weekend was sectional, then the weekend was regional, then the weekend was semi-state, and then state. They said they're going to the state Final Four, and somebody I saw post on there, well, which is it, semi-state or Final Four? Well,
same thing.
Basketball's the same thing. So, Yep, Final Four, like you said, in over a decade. Congratulations to Peck and Paul and team, and they lit it up, man. They took to Logansport. It was kind of nice, probably having somewhat of a home court advantage.
It was close, yeah.
You know, being at Logansport for the sectionals and getting to do regionals there too. So
semi-state is in Lafayette, Jeff, so still not crazy far away.
No.
And then obviously if we were, you know, good enough to make it to state, that'll be down in Indianapolis at, what is it called now?
Is it still Bankers Life?
No, it's not Bankers Life. It's got a new name. It's still Fieldhouse. I don't know. They keep changing the names. It's kind of like
Pacer Place.
Deer Creek will always be Deer Creek to me, type of thing. It's Banker's Life to me, or if it's Conseco. That was like what it was first, I think. So, yeah, congratulations to the Kokomo High School boys basketball team. We'll be rooting you on, and you guys can follow along on the Kokomo Post Sports for all the things going on there.
And how about the IUK Cougars making it to the Sweet 16 in their tournament too?
Crazy game, too. Did you see the ending of it?
My gosh.
Last set, there was like 2 buzzer beaters, if that's possible, somehow. And they're like, IUK is moving on. They beat the number 1 ranked
huge
team in the NAIA, which Kokomo, going back to them real quick, they've got a tough semi-state game.
Yeah.
They're playing, which to me is the least intimidating high school name of all time, Chesterton. Playing Chesterton High School, which at the same time, Chesterton's pretty darn good. Chesterton is 28-0 on the season, and they're number 1 ranked in the state. So Kokomo's got a big battle ahead of them. But, I mean, they've been proving everybody wrong so far.
David and Goliath, baby. David and Goliath. Yeah, that's why they call it March Madness. Anything can happen.
Yeah. And then also, just a quick Kokomo Post thing. So we did get down to the Final Four of the Kokomo Post Pizza Throwdown. It kind of was nuts last week.
A little bit.
I know we talked about it on Monday when we filmed. We had close to 20,000 votes.
Awesome. Way to go,
on
Kokomo.
the second round. And so far for the final four, it is Pizza King versus Bruno's.
Ooh.
A classic, like old school, been around for a long time. And then we've got Fire Pizza of Rocheville against Gabe's Pizza.
Wow. Wow.
You guys will update, which actually, no, I'm not updating you. You guys are going to see this tomorrow. The scores make no sense and don't matter at all. So that's fine.
Get it together.
Get it. I know. I've
Get
had
it together.
some stuff going on today. My head is a little bit like scrambled eggs, but we're here for it. So go vote kokomopost.com/pizza. Final four of that. Next week is going to be the championship round. March Madness got announced. The actual March Madness bracket got announced yesterday, so it's official. It's basketball. We're going to go crazy. Aaron, you excited about basketball?
I mean, when am I not excited about basketball?
You love them sports.
I just go sports. That's really mostly should be tattooed on me somewhere is go sports.
You know something? I remember President Obama used to do this. He had a annual. It was like a big old whiteboard. Do you remember that? And he would fill out his bracket and say who he would pick. You should do that.
You think?
Get something together at City Hall and what would MTM fill out on? What's MTM's bracket look like? That could be fun.
Might have to.
Have you taken a look yet?
I've taken a brief look. I was just looking to see if Notre Dame got in, and they're a play-in. They've got to play to
same with IU.
Get in.
Yeah.
Yep. But do
you know what that means?
But yeah, it'll be interesting.
A play-in game.
I don't. I actually.
Okay, so it's newer-ish to March Madness. So there's 4 playing games, right? Yeah. So there's 8 teams that didn't quite make it close enough.
Kind of like the bubble.
It's kind of like the bubble. So there's 4 play-in games now that technically they play before the actual tournament starts. But if you win that, then you're actually in the tournament. So IU and Notre Dame are in a play-in game.
Yeah.
Got it.
So they could potentially be in the tournament. So
we'll see.
They got
how are my University of Buffalo Bulls doing? They're in there probably.
Don't know.
I don't know either.
I bet.
I honestly haven't had a deep look. I was shocked Michigan got in at all, and Michigan was 11 seed. And by the way, people of the internet, people have been texting me and messaging me, giving me crap about Michigan getting in. Do you think I had a vote on this? I'm just a fan. I didn't do anything.
But you're Drew Larison. They assumed that you had something to do with it.
I had nothing to do with Michigan making the NCAA tournament. If you ask me, they should be mid-ranked in the NIT this year. They were awful this year. And then we had all the debacle with Jawan punching another coach. It was a weird year.
Yeah.
But don't get mad at me because Michigan made the tournament and IU got a play-in game. It's not on me. You know what I mean?
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah. So that's happening. I want to see. I want to see a mayoral bracket. I think that would be fun. And even maybe Jennifer Jordan, get her to fill one out. Maybe Wes could fill one out and have a city hall tournament. That'd
Ooh. Okay.
But important question: how, Mr. Mayor, how do you select your bracket? Are you obviously Notre Dame? I feel like,
believe it or not, I typically don't fill out brackets during March Madness. So I occasionally go for the lower seeded team. I'm all about the underdog team. So I kind of feel them out, look at the records, kind of see what they did getting into, what momentum they've got getting into the dance. And
what about you, Aaron?
That'd be fun.
I feel like you asked that question because you have a fun one of your own.
No,
you kind of led that.
No, I didn't. I really was curious whether he was a diehard anyone from Indiana. You just had to out of loyalty.
That's what's
I feel
tough.
I could see that for you. If Notre Dame's in, you're gonna.
Well, that's what's tough about brackets. You can't be loyal. To your team when you're filling out a bracket.
Especially if you're a Notre Dame basketball
because
fan.
Your goal is to get as many of them right. And, you have to – it's kind of like sports betting. You can't always bet on your team if you legit don't think they're going to win.
Yeah,
sometimes you do better than I do in the office bracket.
Got to sacrifice a little loyalty from time to time.
You do. And, you want
to win.
It's okay. That's okay.
It is. They understand.
No, my strategy, if there is one, is there's some
it's the mascots.
It's not mascots. No, there's statistically who is favored to upset, not statistically in that given year, but in the history of
the seeded
the tournament.
Sure.
That there are statistically the 5s or 12s upset 5s more
That's
than anything.
Common
So
one.
I always,
but what's tough
always
about
pick
that,
a 12 seed.
But that works on the first round. But then second round it's just a cluster because
then after that, then that's when I get
sorry,
oh dear,
Lexi's, I'm throwing stuff.
That's
March
when
Madness.
I get. you know, that's where loyalty sets in for me.
Yeah. No, it's fun. Yeah. We should do another one in the office this year. And, you know, I think what we've done in the past is the person with the highest score, they get to pick where, and I'll buy lunch for everybody from the place. Thank God Marble is not open for lunch.
We had Roddy's one year. As I recall, we tried.
They were closed, and we ended up going to Chili's or something like that.
Man.
Yeah, but I specifically said lunch, not dinner. So, we'll go there. All right, so let's get into. We got some questions today for the Ask the Mayor segment.
Excellent.
Partnered with the cup I was throwing earlier. Partnered with Lexi's Drink Barn here in Kokomo. If you love fountain cokes, you're going to love Lexi's. Go check them out for all their great beverages, and they have great tea as well as great food options. They've got some paninis, and I hinted at it last week, but they've got some cool summer food options coming up, as well as some summery drinks that are coming up. So just thank you for Lexi's for being our partner for the Ask the Mayor segment. Let's get into it. First question is from Melba on Facebook. Okay. And I'm going to be honest. So this is an interesting one. Last episode, we talked a little bit about the Humane Society, and we learned kind of like how the relationship between the city and the counties with the Humane Society is. And a lot of their budget comes from the city and the county. So this makes this question really fun. Melba wants to know, why isn't the city or the county giving money to the Humane Society? They do Howard County a great service. We need to support them.
You know what? That's a great idea. I think we will give them some money.
There you go.
Good answer.
I had to keep it in. Melba, it was either me do that or put a sarcastic just link to last week's episode in your comment. So
but yes,
those were your options.
But I mean, nothing against Melba's question. I mean, there are a lot of people that assume that they're a standalone nonprofit and that they would need more support. But yes, because of the service that they provide for the city and the county, most importantly, police department, sheriff's department, because without them, those two law enforcement agencies are the animal control officers in the community, and they have no business really doing that or time. So we appreciate the animal enforcement officers that the Humane Society has. They have two, tossed around the idea of a third. But no, we've got a good working relationship with them and continue to support them and their efforts. But outside of that, they don't fully fund the Humane Society. The Humane Society does have a couple very fun fundraising events through the years. The
Barktober.
They do the Barktober walk. Yep. Yeah. And then in the fall as well, they do a fall catch. It's like a shrimp and like a Creole type of shrimp boil. And have desserts that they auction off and stuff, and so that's usually in the month of October or November as well. So watch for those.
But get it, cat.
Cat.
Get it?
I didn't, and I'm glad I now do.
So
that's good.
This is the value I bring to this show, guys. This is where I get to really. And by the way, Melba, I was with you last week. I knew. I thought I knew 100% more about the funding of the Humane Society than it turned out I did. So watch last week's show.
Yeah, yeah, sorry if I was mean. Next question is from Cassie on Facebook. Is Phillips Street going to be fixed soon? It is awful.
Pray to
Webster Street is bad also.
That it will.
Does that keep you up at night, though, Phillips Street?
It kind of does every time I drive past it or over it.
It's like an X, like you don't want to look, like you look the other way intentionally.
Because really, it's funny, going back, because there was a question last week where he said, is there a street or intersection that you try to avoid when you're here in town? And I'm surprised that I forgot about Phillips Street between Sycamore and Jefferson. That's been a war zone.
Is that because that's my neighborhood?
But
are you mad at me or something?
No, the utility companies are, though. But no, there was kind of a dual attack, if you will, on utilities through there. Not only NIPSCO finishing up some remnants of the northwestern quadrant in that third phase of replacing the gas lines, but then Indian American Water had some issues down through there. So same way we talk about road construction and everything, even though it's in bad shape now, once the asphalt plant opens so they can get down to where they can repave that, we're going to be staying on top of them that hopefully they clean that up. And she mentioned Webster.
Webster Street is also, or as bad as also, she said. just the entire thing.
Okay.
That is crazy.
We'll
so how temperature and weather dependent we are on that asphalt plan.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
It's a shame. Yeah. All right. Next question is from Dina on Facebook. And it says, we need a sidewalk on Berkeley between the jail and the hospital. There are always people walking down there in the street and in the yards.
Then you can have it. Believe it or not, and ironically,
he's in a good mood. I'm going to ask for some things today too. That was good.
Ironically, and maybe this was planned by somebody that knows the projects that are planned for the coordinating council, which is the MPO, which is a joint city and county, receives FTA funds to put towards projects. And believe it or not, one of the projects in the TIP, if you will, it's the list of projects to approved, is a reconstruction of Berkeley from Markland to Sycamore, adding a sidewalk from Markland to the hospital.
They were reading your mind, Tina. There you go.
Nice lead in, Tina.
Love that. Next question is from Maya on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Why can't the city finish fixing one road before tearing up the next? So many unfinished / poorly left areas all over town.
So a lot of it depends on.
By the way, it's so obvious that it's spring because we're getting so many road complaints.
Yep,
it's the season for that.
Yeah,
exactly.
So the snow's melted, and then we see the areas where some of the utility. So that's either fortunately or unfortunately part of the problem too. Is that some of the work that's done on the roads are done by the utility companies, and so they're under contract, and the city supervises, if you will, the completion of that work that's done through there to make sure that the streets are brought back to the standards of prior to construction. And so, yes, it would appear that the city's just doing all kinds of random stuff around them before going to the next, but some of those are utility in projects that needed to be completed, and at the same time, as we keep mentioning, we need asphalt to put down. And if the asphalt plan isn't open until April, so yes, why wouldn't you wait till the asphalt plan opens and do that before you start another one? Well, a lot of it too, like Markland in particular, we're using certain federal funds that have to be spent by a certain time frame, and so in order to meet that time frame, which actually is going to be June or July, because the project didn't get designed and launched when we had hoped to. That's why we needed to get on it now to start with that work, because you can do concrete work, so sidewalks and curbs, concrete, easier to do in lower temperatures than the asphalt. So yes, it is frustrating that we start on one before finishing another, but a lot of it depends on the timing of funding, the timing of grants, and the timing of concrete and asphalt.
A lot of variables, and the way you're describing it makes me think of like you're cooking a Thanksgiving dinner. Imagine if like every dish of the dinner you cooked the full way through before starting another one. That would be an extremely inefficient way, you know what I mean, to do that meal. Sometimes you got to start one while you're waiting on another thing and things like that.
Can I use that?
Yeah, I mean, just give me credit. That's fine. No. All right,
because when they're all done, we'll all give thanks
how they are done. There you go. See, you put the nice spin on it at the end. Next question from our friend Roger on Facebook, and he's curious about something on the city's website, or technically lack of something on the city's website. I wanted to look at the engineering plans for the Markland upgrades because I'm a nerd and that stuff interests me. The current plans appear to be missing from the engineering section of the city website. Do you know if those plans will be uploaded on the website soon?
Good question. I do need to check. I mean, they are available with the engineering department, and I know it's not that probably convenient to come between 8 and 4 when City Hall is open to take a look at those, but I will definitely follow up. A lot of that is pairing with not only the department, look at all of them, not just engineering for Markland, with the street, if we're looking at reconstruction or other projects and such, but to coordinate that with the IT department, because we did just relaunch the city's website last summer, gave it a facelift, and so we're finding where there are deficiencies. So Roger, thank you for navigating through that, going to the sub menu, seeing that it's an option and something is not available. So we will definitely look into that, because it is important to let folks be informed of what's going on, what to expect. So
love that. Mm-hmm. Can you guess what the next question's about?
Streets.
Sidewalks. How about the sidewalks in Lafayette Park area, North Forest Drive, Wildwood area, 7 exclamation points by Cliff on Facebook. Technically, it should be a question mark, but that's fine.
Got it. Sidewalks, as either fortunately or unfortunately, again, sidewalks are...
Actually, the last person asked sidewalk, you just gave it to him.
I gave it to him, I know.
You got a good shot here. Cross your fingers.
Well, unfortunately, there is a program. So sidewalks that are already established. So the deal with the sidewalk on Berkeley, because it's a new one, there's going to be, you'll have to obtain easements unless it's within already a dedicated easement through there. But if there's sidewalks in already established neighborhoods, the city has a sidewalk program. It's 50-50 because I think, as we've talked before, but it was probably last year, to explain that where the property ownership, where the folks own, and they actually own to the street. And so because the sidewalks, although installed when the neighborhood, subdivision, whatever was developed, are the responsibility of the property owners. And so if there are a block of sidewalk that folks would like to have repaired, they can get, I believe it's 60% of the residents along that stretch of sidewalk to petition to the city, and then we split the cost 50-50.
Gotcha. Yeah, just look at it like this. If you bought a home where their sidewalks already were there, they basically they came with your house.
Right.
You got a good deal the first time. But anything like that, they take some maintenance.
Yeah, and we understand that people can't. it's expensive for people to pay to have concrete. Yeah, so that's why we'd rather or prefer that the program be a full block, and then everybody just pay a portion of. So collectively half, but then your portion of that half along that stretch. So information at the engineering department if you're interested.
It's kind of like a Thanksgiving dinner. No, wait, that doesn't work for that one. Sorry.
No.
Next question is from Allie on Facebook. I'm curious or not whether there is a plan to extend the nice bright streetlights on South Main Street further towards downtown. Currently, they only light the stretch between Markland and Harrison.
The bright lights from
South Main Street toward downtown. It
is not, I don't believe it's in the plans now, but as development continues to work its way south along Main and Union by the stadium and 306 Riverfront, what probably makes sense to be in a consideration or planning stage to see, because really, years ago, I was on what was the Main Street Association, and you would think that Main Street was just downtown, but it did include that.
Oh yeah.
Those group of stores and Artie's. Yeah, they're Main and Markland as well, and so that would be a nice tie-in to that area as well. So I like that idea. We'll have to look into it.
I've always dreamed that area could be so cool. It's just a neat little part of town. I love that. Next question. Can you guess what it's about?
Sidewalks.
Roads. When are we going to fix our roads? Example, Webster Street, Markland to Deffenbaugh is full of the same potholes that just keep getting refilled. Shannon on Facebook.
Right. So because time, resources, and funds are limited year to year, the engineering department does kind of do an assessment of the streets and roads, because there's 96 miles, I think, worth of streets and roads and alleyways through the city. And so we're trying to get into somewhat of a rotation, but as one of the previous questioners mentioned before, instead of why don't you do or fix one before you get to the other one, there's only so much time and so much resources to do each year. So part of that rotation is to identify those that are most traveled and have experienced some of the most wear and tear. And so yes, Webster is definitely one that experiences a lot of activity and wear and tear. So I will definitely check with the engineering department to see rotation wise when that stretch of Webster may be due next.
Question.
Yes.
How does one determine which roads are most traveled? Have to know.
They actually have little devices. They can do traffic counts.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll occasionally, year to year, throw those out to check the amount of activity up and down a particular street. Streets due to activity that has been documented or recorded in the past, maybe they've classified streets either as primaries or secondaries.
Oh, yeah. We talked about this.
So
then there's tertiaries. There's those little ones.
The tertiaries, yeah. So
still a great word.
So that's still,
it is a great word.
I think is part of the determination. Not only is it
billboard
used
companies use those too,
right?
The dependent value of a billboard to see how much traffic is on the street.
My gosh, did not know that.
You learned so much on this show.
I know.
Really
Heidi on our staff, she was watching last week's episode. I forget, some night last week, and we have like an internal thing called Slack that we all chat with, and Heidi just wrote her. She's like, I just learned so much from the MTM show. She was watching it.
Sweet.
I learned so much. Yeah. Okay. Last question. I'm going to give you one more shot. You're 0 for 2 so far. Can you guess what this one's about?
Basketball.
Sidewalks. Yeah. I want to know if they will ever put a sidewalk. Nah, I'm an honest guy. I don't trick.
I know.
I want to know if they will ever put a sidewalk on Markland down by the school where there's a trolley stop. Eric on Facebook. He also did this cool thing where there's one question mark the right way and then one upside down and then one right way and then one upside down and then one right side up.
Interesting.
That was cool.
So
good job, Eric.
I don't know. You got some fancy keyboard
got
work.
some finesse in that question.
A sidewalk down Markland by the school.
Where there's a trolley stop.
There's a trolley stop.
And trolley stops, we've talked about this too with sidewalks and trolley stops because, perfect world, there would be one, but you get into the world, let's say you've explained it in the past, so correct me if I'm wrong, but like when you're getting to that world, you're talking about property owners. Since the property owners own all the way to the street, it's a matter of convincing them as well as having them invest in a sidewalk too.
Right. Unless, again, there's already a dedicated easement that was recorded and established when the street was put in anticipation of either a walk or a widening of the street. So if the city already has a dedicated easement of record, then the widening or a sidewalk can be placed within that easement without getting further permission from the property owner. But again, with Berkeley, that may be the case. I don't know if there's a dedicated easement, but I'm trying to think. The only school I can think of on Markland is it the early learning out by Darrell Chapel?
No, I'm thinking it might be the one
that's
across from Burger King and Arby's or that Chinese restaurant. It's not technically on Markland.
Elwood Haynes.
Yeah.
How can you forget Elwood Haynes?
Yeah. Well, because it's not. So I guess it's on Markland, but not on the side. But it's there.
So.
Yeah. Let me read it again.
Okay.
I want to know if
I'm trying to. So I get. Yes, we're getting ready to reconstruct Markland, which we've already begun. So yes, there is going to be 6-foot sidewalks on both sides of Markland to make it more pedestrian friendly. So that should alleviate that, and at the same time, there's going to be an access road installed on the north side of Markland to pull some of the traffic off, but dedicate a left turn as well. So we're trying to make it a little bit safer with all the congestion there. But yes, sidewalks are definitely part of the plan of Markland, actually wider ones from Apperson all the way to 931.
Gotcha. And Aaron, you said I must have missed one. So you have one more question?
Yeah, I got one more for you. This is from Cheryl on Facebook, and she says, Kokomo has many beautiful and unique older homes, specifically in the Silkstocking neighborhood, that are in need of repair. Many are close to being beyond repair, which is a shame as they're of unique architecture. Are there any incentives that can be introduced to help homeowners with the upkeep of these homes? And is there any way to introduce incentives for young families to purchase homes from those who rent out the homes for a more stable, consistent neighborhood? Thank you.
Very good.
Ooh, she put a thank you in there.
I know. That was very nice.
Usually people don't. They put like a bunch of question marks that are upside down. That's good.
That was pizzazz, though. I mean,
that is.
Good job, Eric.
So residential, there are no programs that the city offers that I'm aware of at this time. There was something we were considering with the ARP funds that we had received, but kind of the shotgun scatter approach, you didn't know where to start, where to end, and to make it available for so many, it really wouldn't make that much difference of the dollar amount would be so small in order to make it available for everybody. But those that obtain those homes maybe as a rental opportunity, or if there was a business or something, if there's development, we have agreements where there's a development type of agreement for investors that the city can maybe find a way to partner and fill gaps of financing with the remodeling or reconstruction for that. But unfortunately with residential, there's not at this time. Now, last year, there was a group that began meeting after we addressed the folks out in Tent City by Future Park, and those that are considered homeless or living along some of the trails, to try to find programs to assist those that are hard to house, so to speak. I mean, there are, even though there are resources for the homeless in Kokomo and Howard County, there are those that don't want to follow the rules and restrictions that come with those certain facilities. And so we've reached out to landlords to see if they would be part of a program to provide housing for those that would be considered hard to house. And the feedback we got from them was like, that's great, but help us out with some of the improvements that we need to do, because with the eviction moratorium that was on during the pandemic, I mean, a lot of them went months and months without receiving rent, and so the rent is what they then use to reinvest into their facilities and such. So working with the county, folks at FSA, and some of the other organizations to try and come up with a potential program to assist those, maybe not necessarily for owner-occupied homes, but for investment properties that are rented.
Love that.
Long answer, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I have more questions. Like this has just opened me up to lots of questions. But like, how does the city, like, you're aware that there are some areas that have some particularly dingy looking properties, right? Like, how do you guys look at that and say, okay, like, maybe there's a few neighborhoods that have some blighted properties, right? Like, what's the process? How do you guys say, hey, we've got to do some work here. We know that property values must be lower. Because, right, that if you can raise property values, then you're raising your property tax revenue, right?
Correct.
Like, what's the...
So along those
what's
lines,
the behind the scenes?
So owner-occupied, there is a program for low to moderate income properties that are blighted, that folks don't have the resources. We use CDBG funds. So through the development department, Pritesh Shah is the one that spearheads that. An application process is open every year, July 1st, and folks can get on the waiting list, and so they can come out and have, like windows, siding, gutters, something to, but again, there's income restrictions on that. I mean, that's why,
people,
in the silk stocking, probably wouldn't qualify, that, but.
Right. But looking at some of those other, because there are neighborhoods that are, could really use some help.
Sure.
How do you tell people about those? Is this, maybe I just don't know about it. Do you feel like that's common knowledge with the folks who are living there?
Right.
And I wonder if there are barriers to them applying such as a knowledge
the only
gap.
barriers would really be income restrictions, and if the repairs or improvements that they're requesting aren't necessarily justified by HUD standards. So the CDBG funds are HUD funds, and so there's, believe it or not, red strings and red tape attached to those, so that there's certain things that need to be qualified for that. But it's my understanding that in a lot of those neighborhoods, so we identify neighborhoods within which we want to target. Again, so it's not the shotgun, scatter approach to it. So we identify areas within the city, and then there's information sent out to a number of those households. That's
my question. I guess two questions. First, like, how do you identify them? And then two, how do you inform those folks that, like, hey, there's some potential. There's some, who wouldn't want to fix some of those things on their home to make their house and their home better? So how do you identify those targeted areas? Yeah.
So, and a lot of that too, because HUD requires communities to establish areas that would be that would qualify. And again, a lot of that's on demographics and income and amenities and such. And so looking at the various areas of the city, they're set up into quadrants. And then, we just look and say, okay, we've done, a handful of CDB improvements, in this quadrant, maybe we'll focus on this one and this one now. Or we did a few here, maybe we do a few more there because that'll give, a little more, momentum or incentive for others in that area to see, those homes spruced up, and maybe they'll do a little bit.
I'd be really interested to see which areas over the course of the last, 5-10 years have received those funds. What's the difference in those areas? What's the difference in property value? What's the difference in what has happened to other aspects of the city through the use of those funds?
Is it working?
Yeah, is it working?
Yep. Or
what
is
happens?
It being utilized enough, I guess, is probably the best way to put that. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a cap on? There must be a cap on how many dollars are allocated each year.
Yes. Yeah. We try to. I mean, and that depends on year to year. Because we were just looking at these for this year, we've got. What is it? I think. I was just looking at it. $160,000 in the group of those CDBG funds to use towards blight elimination, or not blight elimination. I mean, that's part of it too. There's a portion of that too that goes towards demolition and
I saw some bids for some condemned and abandoned houses as well.
But for remodeling to help bring those property values up.
So I hate to keep asking more questions, but how do you determine how many dollars go into that fund each year?
They tell us.
Oh,
so when we get it from the HUD, there's so it's a breakdown that each category. So like some of those are going to go to some of the street projects with the sidewalks. Some are going to go to the demolition of homes. Some to the restoration or remodeling of them. So a lot of that gets predetermined, and I'm assuming it's based on the class of the city, our population, and probably the dollar
You're
amounts.
anticipating my questions. That's my question: is how do we lobby to them to get more into that fund for regular homeowners to do work to their own properties?
Do you have some remodeling plans you want us to do?
I'm just fascinated by this. Like, how does a city look at some, homes get into sort of a dilapidated disrepair, and how do they get out of it? Because then there can be whole blocks and whole areas that can be better.
It's a greater good thing too.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it helps everybody.
That's fascinating.
Obviously it helps the homeowner do some updates and remodels,
and
but
that's
also
the
helps the city with property values and things like that.
There's so many, and a lot of times too, it comes down to pride. They don't want to, apply, to be considered.
I see that
one of those homes, but yeah, the idea is to, do some improvements to this one. Somebody go, oh, hey, well, yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and
gentrification of sorts. Yeah. Somebody sees something happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways,
you guys do kitchen remodels?
No, all exterior.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, but we've seen some. I mean, there's been some movement in some homes that were falling into some disrepair. I wouldn't say it's maybe silk stocking adjacent or downtown adjacent, and the whole block looks better. Which to me,
you might be talking about too some that they knocked down and completely built
we've got our infill
new homes.
That's possible. Yeah.
Because I know there were quite a few in that area. Jefferson, Walnut, Mulberry, there were a few where they did that was that blight.
And we were hoping to continue the infill program, but this past year the cost of
commodities are just
it was through the roof. I mean, it was going to cost over $200,000 to build some of the homes that we had built in similar areas, or similar homes in other areas,
for like $120 or something like that.
Yeah, so we're kind of reassessing that.
Yeah, hopefully those will start coming down a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to run away with that, but fascinating. Like that's a whole part of city government I didn't know existed.
Heidi is watching this right now, and she's saying, "I am learning so much."
I hope so. I hope other people are watching this far.
And if you have questions about any of that, I mean, Pritesh Shah in the development department, he is our HUD specialist. So I mean, he can answer all those questions, and I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge. He's just incredible.
Love that.
Yep.
Awesome. So thank you for those questions for the Ask the Mayor segment, partnered with Lexi's Drink Barn. If you have any questions, we had tons of questions on the post today. We had those 16, or there was a lot of questions. But if you have any questions, leave a comment in this video below. We'd love to answer those questions, get those questions in. Makes the show fun to have a lot of those questions to ask. And Aaron and I will do our best to ask some follow-ups from those questions to make sure that your answers are as clear as possible. And yeah, sometimes I'll poke fun at you. I mean, that's the cost of admission. If you have like a question that I can easily poke fun at.
Well, you missed the question from Connie on Facebook that just said, seriously? With 7 question marks.
I think Connie she's confused how comments work. I think she was replying back to another comment, but not a reply.
Oh, she clarified. She clarified later. But it was just seriously question marks. So.
Okay.
Yes, Connie.
Yes.
Seriously.
Very seriously.
There's your answer. Thanks for putting a question in.
Not so serious all the time.
Oh, this Connie, I
still got to have fun.
Her. This is great.
Still have a good time.
Anyway, thanks for those questions. Right. Thank you for watching this episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show. Mr. Mayor, do you have a dad joke?
Oh, I do. And what fantastic holiday we have this week. St. Paddy's Day.
St. Paddy's Day, that's right.
Yes, and so the country of Ireland are known for their potatoes. However, do you know when an Irish potato is not an Irish potato?
What is it?
When it's a French fry.
There it is. Wah, 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 wah. Hey, thank you for watching this episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show, partnered with Walls Furniture and Mattress. Leave a comment below if you have any questions for that Ask the Mayor segment. And if not, we'll see you next time.
You got it. See you, Kokomo.